Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. On today's video, we're going to be doing our weekly Braves review. If you watched yesterday's video, it was my quick preview of WWE's Hell in a Cell coming up one day later on this week. We're going to review that and see what actually did happen. And of course, coming up on Wednesday, we're going to be having our top 10 countdown of the week. We do one of those every single Wednesday, and this week it will be college football related. And we've also got some other great things coming up later on this week. But for today, we're going to go ahead and do our quick Braves review. Now, if you're a Braves fan or know someone who is, or just a baseball fan in general, please feel free to tell them to watch this video and like, comment, share, and subscribe. I like to see the opinions of all the Braves fans and what you think, because I'm still disappointed with them. But I will say this past week was about what you would expect from the Braves according to how they've played so far this year. We know they played 6 games. They played the Red Sox for 2 games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they were supposed to play the Cardinals for 4 games Thursday through Sunday, but of course Saturday's game got rained out, so they played 2 yesterday, and they split the doubleheader. So they went 3-3 for the week. They lost both games to the Red Sox, and believe it or not, both games had the same final score, 10-8 Red Sox. And then they took 3 of 4 from the Cardinals. Now on Tuesday, Tucker Davidson, who had pitched pretty good in his first couple of starts, only lasted 2 1/3 innings, I believe it was. He left the game with elbow problems, but the Braves say they got it quick enough to where he's going to be able to avoid any kind of surgery. He only had to go on the 10-day injured list. Hopefully he'll be back within that 10 days, especially with Soroka still being out, and Yanoa, of course, is still out. The Braves have been shuffling their bullpen all week long. After almost every game, they've sent somebody down and called somebody else up. It's funny because last week I was saying that it almost seems like the entire Braves team just said, hey, y'all, why don't we all just suck this year? Because for the most part, except for Acuna, the Braves have just all been bad this year. Some worse than others, but outside of Acuna, none of them have been great. I was talking to a coworker the other day, and she said she thinks that they all decided to be bad this year to try and get Brian Snitker fired. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with that, but I will say if somebody has that opinion right now, I can't say that they're wrong, because you look, you got Shane Green, Chris Martin, A.J. Minter, Sean Newcomb, and Will Smith, who are all 5 outstanding out of the bullpen last year, and this year they're all bad. Now, if you look at Will Smith, he's got 13 saves and 14 chances. He's only blown 1 save, but when you're a closer and your ERA is still above 4 in late June, you've been bad. He's been pretty good, almost great, as a closer, but anytime he's pitched when the game is not on the line, he's been bad. And Shane Green, since they re-signed him, has just been absolutely atrocious. Chris Martin has been bad. A.J. Minter's been bad. Sean Newcomb's been bad. And then you look at Max Fried and Ian Anderson, how good they were last year. And this year they're just average. So if somebody comes to me and tells me that they think the whole club decided to suck this year to see if they can get Snitker fired, I can't say they're wrong, because I know not everybody's going to be great every year. Players are going to have down years. So if you have 1 or 2 guys that are not putting up the numbers they normally do, it's not surprising. But when you've got 5 relievers and 2 starters who were all good last year, and this year they're just decent to average at best, it does make you wonder, did these guys just sit back and decide they were going to suck? Now, of course, if you've ever played any kind of sport, you know that's not true because, as humans, we're competitive. We want to win. But it is funny that many guys just in one year just decided to fall apart. Shane Green's been so bad, I wonder now why they even re-signed him. Now, he's still got plenty of time to turn it around, but I think right now his ERA is 15. That's terrible. Now, Freddie Freeman has finally got his batting average up to 247 because he had a 9-game hitting streak that got snapped in Game 2 of the doubleheader last night. But he's gone from, I think, 232 to 247 in 1 week because of his 9-game hitting streak. Acuna hit his 19th home run of the season last night. The Braves won Game 2 of the doubleheader by the score of 1-0 on a Ronald Acuna solo homer. It was his 100th career home run. He's on pace to get at least 40 home runs if he continues the pace he's on right now, and it's amazing that he's putting up those numbers as a leadoff hitter. But he also has 15 stolen bases, so he's still stealing bases as well, which is what leadoff guys are supposed to do. But back when I first started following baseball in the mid-90s, you had leadoff hitters that wouldn't hit 19 home runs in 3 years. And now you've got Ronald Acuna, who's put up 19, and it's not even the midway point of the season yet. But he is not your old school, old-fashioned, prototypical leadoff hitter if you're an old school baseball fan. But he gets on base, whether it's a walk or an error or a hit by pitch or a hit. So his overall on-base percentage is what you would, come to expect from a leadoff hitter. But leadoff hitters just don't hit 40 home runs and drive in 90 guys. But that's what Acuna does. And it works for him, and it works for the Braves. So you don't want to change it. You want to keep it just like it is, especially since the Braves really don't have a natural leadoff hitter. But they went 3-3 for the week, but the Mets played 8 games last week. If you've been following my weekly Braves report, I've been saying that the Mets had their first 6 games of the season get canceled, and they're slowly making up those games. So this past week, they played 1 doubleheader on Saturday. So the Braves went 3-3. The Mets went 5-3. So they started the week 4 games out in the division, and now they're 5 games out in the division. They played the doubleheader yesterday against the Cardinals, and now they have the doubleheader today against the Mets to make up for the game they had get postponed in a series against the Mets back in May. So this series against the Mets is going to be a 4-game series, 2 today, 1 tomorrow, and 1 Wednesday. And then the Braves play the Reds in a 4-game series beginning on Thursday and going through Sunday. And the Reds are just average. They're not bad, but they're not great. So the Braves could have a really good week. They also have another series with the Mets next week. So they got a series against the Mets this week and a series against the Mets next week. So if there was ever a time when you wanted to see the Braves get hot and win 8, 9, 10 games in a row, it is right now. I know I said last week that Drew Smyly had his best start of the year, in my opinion, last week when he pitched. But then he beat that start last night because in that 1-0 Braves win, he went 5 2/3 innings and only gave up 1 hit. He did walk 3, but he only gave up 1 hit. So Charlie Morton had an excellent start on Thursday where he took a no-hitter into the 7th inning, and the Braves did win that game. And then Drew Smyly had an excellent start last night by only giving up 1 hit and walking 3 in 5 2/3 innings. So let's hope that Morton and Smyly have turned it around, and hopefully Anderson and Fried can go back to pitching. Maybe not as great as they did last year, but at least good, because right now they've just been average. both games against the Red Sox, the Braves put up 8 runs, which generally, if you score 8, you should win, but they lost both games. Now, I know I said earlier that Tucker Davidson got hurt and had to leave the game with an injury in the 3rd inning, and he says that's when he felt the pain, but truth be told, he probably felt it before the game started and just tried to tough it out, and it got worse. But then on Wednesday, Ian Anderson only went 4 innings because he gave up 4 runs. Now, had Snitker known that the bullpen was going to come in and be just as bad, if not worse, than Anderson was, he probably would have stuck with him. But the bullpen was bad on Tuesday and Wednesday. But then the bullpen did look a little bit better in the series against the Cardinals. But the Cardinals this year are not what the Cardinals normally are. Normally the Cardinals are a playoff contender. And this year, if they make the playoffs, I'll be stunned, because outside of Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, they're just an average baseball team with an average starting rotation. Adam Wainwright is nowhere near what he used to be. So it was good to see the Braves take 3 out of 4 from them. Hopefully they can continue that momentum into the series against the Mets. It's going to be tough to play 4 games in 2 days, because you had the doubleheader yesterday against the Cardinals, and now you have the doubleheader today against the Mets. But it does give you a chance to hopefully keep your momentum going and catch the Mets a little bit, because the Braves are still in 3rd place. The Phillies are still in 2nd place, 4 games behind the Mets. But now the Braves are in 3rd, and they're tied for 3rd with the Nationals, because the Nationals are playing a little bit better baseball right now. But the National League East is still top to bottom. All 5 teams are within 9 games. So if any of the teams could go on an 8, 9, 10 game winning streak, they could put some ground between them and the rest of the team. But they're just not doing that. The entire division, all 5 teams, have been really inconsistent. The Mets, for the most part, have played pretty good, but this past week, the Mets had a couple of games that just didn't look like what you would normally see from the Mets. So the entire division right now, all 5 teams are just playing up and down. So if any team goes on a big, long winning streak, that will be the team that I would say has the leg up on the division. But so far, none of them are doing that. Let's hope the Braves can continue their momentum from taking 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals, and hopefully you can split the 4-game series with the Mets, and hopefully they'll take 3 out of 4 from the Reds. If they do that, that'll be a pretty successful week for the Braves, especially the way they've played this year. They were 30-33 when the week started, and they went 3-3, so now they're 33-36. So they didn't get closer to 500, but they didn't fall any further below 500. Still 3 games below 500 on the season. And like I said, doubleheader today against the Mets. Hopefully they'll win both, but I'll be satisfied if they get one of the 2 in the doubleheader. If you have any thoughts on the Braves, please feel free to let me know. I know the big story right now in baseball is them telling these pitchers that if they get caught putting any foreign substance on the ball, they're going to get an automatic suspension. And the best part, or the worst part, depending on how you look at it, about that was that they said if this happens, no matter what team it is, no matter what pitcher it is, they will not get to replace that pitcher on the roster. So instead of having 25 players while they're suspended, you're only going to be allowed to have 24 players. So I think that's going to make the managers really follow their pitchers, because depending on when it happens and who you're playing and who the team is, losing a starting pitcher for 10 or 11 games and not being able to replace them could really, really, really affect your team, especially if you don't really have a lot of good, reliable starters. I know since it happened, Garrett Cole had a start, and he was bad, and he blamed it on that. But you can't really blame baseball, because there's some pitchers that use stuff that they say is okay to use, but some stuff is not. So it would take you way too long to sit here and investigate every single substance on every single ball and then determine if it's okay or if it's not. That would just take way too long. So the best thing to do is just say you can't use anything. And Garrett Cole says that that's the reason why his start was bad. And then you had Garrett Richards of the Red Sox come out and say that he uses sunscreen. And now he's not allowed to use a sunscreen because sunscreen is a foreign substance. But if you're putting sunscreen on the baseball, there's a problem. There's no reason why sunscreen should go on a baseball. I've put sunscreen on before when I'm going to be out in the sun for a long period of time, and I never put it on a baseball. So these pitchers are now blaming their bad starts and bad outings on no longer being allowed to use a foreign substance. But I'm glad they made the ruling now because the Braves bullpen has been so bad, it's embarrassing. But with all the talk now being on these pitchers and foreign substances, it takes the talk away from the Braves' atrocious bullpen. And I'm okay with that. But hopefully they'll continue the momentum from playing good against the Cardinals, and they also played really well against the Red Sox. I know they lost both games, but they lost both games for the same reason: bad bullpen. So if Anderson could have been effective on Wednesday, or if Tucker hadn't have got hurt on Tuesday, you may have won one of those games. You don't want to lose both, but when you lose both games for the same reason, you know what the problem was. It was the bullpen. Now they just got to figure out a way to fix it because Luke Jackson, like I said last week, has been the Braves' best reliever so far this year. His ERA is a skosh above 1. And last year his ERA was around 5, I believe. So he's been the only one in the bullpen that's been better than what he was last year. But he's not a setup man, and he's not a closer. So he's going to stay, their long reliever, the guy that comes in and gets an out here and there. They need one of the reliable, dependable guys who are supposed to be setup men, or supposed to be eighth inning specialists, or supposed to be closers to be what they were last year. So let's just hope, if you're a Braves fan like I am, that they turn it around starting this week and they just continue this momentum they just had from taking 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals aren't very good, but the Braves also played the Pirates earlier this year, and the Pirates are worse than the Cardinals, and the Braves looked pitiful against the Pirates. So you can look at it from a negative perspective and say the Cardinals stink, or you can look at it from a positive perspective and say the Cardinals are better than the Pirates, and the Braves took 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals, and they looked terrible when they played the Pirates. So if you're a baseball fan, if you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to let me know. The Braves start the week 5 games out in the division, but they do have 4 against the Mets and 4 against the Reds. So it will be an 8-game week for the Braves, no off days, and a doubleheader today. So they do have plenty of games this week to make up some ground on the Mets if they can have a good week. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day. What do you call a cow that has just given birth? Decaffeinated. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.